You see, many imagine that God's calling will crash into their lives like a storm, loud, undeniable, impossible to miss. But the truth is far gentler, far more unsettling. God speaks not with shouts, but with whispers. And while we are endlessly waiting for signs carved into the sky, the true signs are already etched into our hearts, quiet, persistent, easy to ignore if we so choose. And that, you see, is the strange burden of being chosen. You are free, free to listen, free to turn away. But know this: when you ignore the whisper long enough, it is not God who has abandoned you. It is you who have chosen silence. You see, many imagine that God's calling will crash into their lives like a storm, loud, undeniable, impossible to miss. But the truth is far gentler, far more unsettling. God speaks not with shouts, but with whispers. And while we are endlessly waiting for signs carved into the sky, the true signs are already etched into our hearts, quiet, persistent, easy to ignore if we so choose. And that, you see, is the strange burden of being chosen. You are free, free to listen, free to turn away. But know this: when you ignore the whisper long enough, it is not God who has abandoned you. It is you who have chosen silence. Now, what is this calling we so often pretend not to hear? It is not always some grand mission, some trumpet, blasting announcement of destiny. Often it is simply a stirring within you, a sense that you were made for something more, something higher, something that will cost you your comfort but return to you your soul. It might come as a restless dissatisfaction with the world as it is, or as a longing for beauty, truth, and goodness that you can barely put into words. It is the intuition that your life, somehow, matters deeply, even when no one else notices. And the tragedy of it all is not that God hides this from us, no. It is that we are often too distracted, too impatient, too afraid to listen. Many sit idly by, saying, "When God really wants me to move, He will make it unmistakable." But that is not how love works. God is not a tyrant forcing your hand. He is a lover who invites, suggests, woos, and real love always leaves room for refusal. That is why procrastination is so deadly to the soul. Every day that you say, "Not yet," every day you postpone obedience to the quiet voice within, your heart grows a little harder, your ears grow a little duller, and the path you were meant to walk becomes overgrown with weeds. You have been given a terrifying gift, freedom. The freedom to say yes, and the freedom to say no. And with that freedom comes consequences, not as punishment, but as the natural unfolding of the choices you make. If you refuse to answer your calling, life will not stop you, it will simply pass you by. Your dreams will not be confiscated, they will wither. Your gifts will not be forcibly removed, they will quietly atrophy, like muscles never used. And when the day comes that you finally look back, wondering why your life feels hollow and unfulfilled, you will not be able to say that God did not call you, only that you did not answer. There is a deep wisdom hidden in the soul, something ancient and sacred that knows before you know. It is not logical, it is not always practical, but it is real. That sudden stirring of compassion, the unexplainable drive to create, to serve, to heal, to stand for what is right, these are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of God on your spirit. When you ignore them, you are not simply ignoring good advice. You are ignoring the deepest truth of who you are. And so I say to you, lovingly but urgently, do not wait. Do not demand louder signs. Do not blame God later for a life unlived. Listen now, move now, answer now. The doors you are meant to walk through will not stay open forever. Not because God is cruel, but because life, by its very nature, flows forward and never backward. There are certain flowers that bloom only once, and if you are too busy to notice, they are gone. You were chosen not to be comfortable, but to be radiant, not to be safe, but to be alive. God's plan for you is not written in the clouds, it is written within you. If you refuse to read it, if you turn away, the loss will not be God's, but yours. And when the harvest time comes, when the life you could have had stands like a ghost before you, know this: it was never God who withheld it. It was only your own fear, your own delay, your own refusal. You are free, but you are also responsible. So hear the whisper, trust the stirring, step into the life you were created for, before it's too late. Freedom is the most extraordinary and dangerous gift that God has given to us. It is beautiful because it means love is possible, and it is dangerous because it means we are capable of refusing it. You see, if God had wanted mere obedience, he could have created puppets, programmed to move exactly as commanded, incapable of error, incapable of rebellion. But he did not want robots, he wanted lovers. He wanted children who would come to him freely, not by force, but by choice. And so he gave us free will, the ability to choose, to stray, to return, to become. It is this freedom that both dignifies us and condemns us. Every moment you live, you are choosing to listen or to ignore, choosing to open your heart or to close it, choosing to act with courage or to hide in fear. And the reality is, most of us live as if we have no choice at all, blaming circumstance, blaming fate, blaming God anything but ourselves. But if we are honest, brutally honest, we would see that it is not God's silence that leaves us lost, but our own unwillingness to respond. When people say, if God wanted me to change, he would make it clear, they misunderstand the very nature of love. Love invites, it does not invade. Love calls you by name, it does not drag you by force. God's invitations are everywhere in the quiet ache you feel when you know you're meant for something more, in the sleepless nights where your heart wrestles with truth, in the people you meet who seem to speak words your soul already knew but had forgotten. Ignoring these signs is not a neutral act, it is a choice. It is the decision to remain asleep when you were meant to wake. And this, perhaps, is the greatest tragedy, that so many wait for divine intervention when the divine has already intervened by giving you the freedom to move, to grow, to become. There will not always be a burning bush or a parting sea. More often there is simply the steady pulse of life urging you forward, a subtle gravitational pull toward your true purpose. You can resist it for a while, you can delay, distract, busy yourself with the trivial. But you cannot erase it, and the longer you resist, the more dissonant your life becomes, until eventually the pain of ignoring it outweighs the fear of answering it. Freedom, you see, is not simply the right to do whatever you please. It is the profound responsibility to become who you were meant to be. It is the realization that your life, with all its decisions, is shaping something eternal. And when you ignore the call, when you pretend not to hear the whisper, you are not just delaying happiness. You are distorting your soul. You are living beneath yourself. You cannot blame God later for the path you chose not to walk. You cannot cry foul when the fruits you were meant to harvest have withered from neglect. God will not force you to flourish. He will not bully you into fulfillment. He will invite and invite again, and wait with infinite patience. But the choice, the sacred, terrifying choice, remains yours. And so I say to you, awaken to your freedom. See it for what it is. It is not a burden, though it feels heavy at times. It is not a punishment, though it demands everything from you. It is the doorway to life itself. You are free to become, free to love, free to create, free to say yes to the divine purpose that stirs within you. But freedom, if left unused, turns to regret. And in the end, the deepest pain is not what God withheld from you, but what you withheld from yourself. Choose wisely, choose now, for freedom is a gift that demands an answer, and your life, whether you realize it or not, is your answer. We imagine that time is endless, that the opportunities which appear today will appear again tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, then surely the next day. But life does not work that way. The river flows forward, never backward. And when we wait, when we hesitate, when we tell ourselves that there will be a better time to begin, a better time to obey that quiet inner voice, we are deceiving ourselves. Procrastination is not just a harmless delay. It is a slow but certain betrayal of the soul. The calling placed within you does not remain frozen, waiting eternally for your convenience. It lives and breathes in the rhythm of time, and just as a flower blooms in its season and fades when neglected, so too the opportunities of the soul have their appointed moment. When you say, "Not yet," you are not pressing pause on your destiny. You are turning your back on the very moment that was ripe for your transformation. It is a strange thing, the way we wait for the perfect conditions, a moment when we will feel ready, when the fear will disappear, when the path will be clear of all obstacles. But such a moment never truly arrives. Readiness is not a feeling, it is a decision. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to move forward despite fear. And clarity does not precede the first step, it grows as you walk. We must understand that procrastination is not merely a flaw of character, it is a spiritual blindness. It is the refusal to see that today is all we ever have. Tomorrow is an illusion, a promise that may never come. Every delay is a quiet death, not of the body, but of the possibilities that were available to you in that sacred now. There is a cost to every hesitation, though we rarely calculate it. Each time you turn away from the nudge, each time you silence the voice within, the path becomes a little more obscured. The momentum of your spirit weakens, the sensitivity of your heart dulls. You lose a little bit of yourself, not in a dramatic collapse, but in a slow, invisible erosion. And before long you find yourself far from where you were meant to be, wondering why you feel so hollow, so restless, so disconnected. God does not punish you for delaying your obedience. The punishment is built into the fabric of life itself. You miss the moment, and with it the blessings that moment contained. You lose the richness of what could have been. Not because God is cruel, but because life was always meant to be lived forward with trust, not with endless postponement. And so the real danger is not in making mistakes along the way. It is in standing still while the river moves on. It is in the belief that you have forever to answer, forever to become. You do not. Every breath you take is one less than you had before. Every sunrise you see is one closer to your last. This is not cause for despair, but for urgency, the beautiful urgency to live, to listen, to act. The whisper of God within you is not a background noise to be tuned out until you feel more comfortable. It is the very music of your life, and to delay dancing to it is to risk never dancing at all. You were not made to wait endlessly. You were made to move, to flow, to risk, to leap. So if you hear the call, however faint, however terrifying, do not put it off. Do not tell yourself that tomorrow will be easier. Tomorrow you may be less able to hear it. Tomorrow you may be less willing to answer. The only time you truly own is now. Procrastination is not merely the enemy of success. It is the enemy of your soul's fulfillment, and in the end the greatest tragedy is not that you failed, but that you never even began. There is a knowing that lives deeper than thought, deeper than logic, deeper even than emotion. It stirs quietly in the soul, long before the mind can grasp it, long before the tongue can form words to describe it. It is an ancient, intuitive knowing, a spark of the divine planted within you before you ever took your first breath. And it is from this deep place that your true calling arises. You do not reason your way into your purpose. You recognize it, as if remembering something you have always known but momentarily forgotten. Often we make the mistake of waiting for certainty to arrive in the mind, a detailed map, a set of guarantees, a logical chain of events that proves the path is safe. But certainty never comes to the mind first. It comes first to the soul, as a subtle sense of rightness, a quiet but persistent tug in a particular direction. And if you insist on waiting until your intellect is fully satisfied, until all risks are eliminated and all unknowns are made known, you will wait forever. The soul moves long before the mind understands. You may notice it when you feel a sudden surge of life in a conversation, when your heart stirs unexpectedly at a glimpse of beauty or suffering, when you hear a truth spoken that seems to vibrate in your very bones. These moments are not accidents, they are invitations. They are the soul's way of recognizing what the mind has not yet caught up to, and to ignore them to demand further evidence, to analyze them until they are lifeless is to betray yourself. It is a dangerous thing to live entirely by the mind, For the mind is cautious, skeptical, trained to protect and preserve. The mind seeks comfort, seeks repetition, seeks the safety of the known, but the soul is wild and free. The soul is not concerned with comfort, it seeks only growth. The soul will lead you into risk, into uncertainty, into realms where you must trust in what you cannot yet see. It will ask you to step before you know where the path will lead. This is why faith is so essential, not merely faith in doctrines or systems, but faith in the living presence of God speaking through your very being. Faith that when you move in response to the soul's calling, the ground will appear beneath your feet. Faith that even if you stumble, even if you fall, you will be caught by a grace far deeper than anything you can engineer with your own calculations. If you learn to trust this inner knowing, your life will unfold with a kind of graceful inevitability, not without pain, not without struggle, but with a profound sense of alignment, a sense that you are, at last, living the life you were meant to live. But if you ignore it, if you continually defer to the fears and demands of the mind, you will find yourself adrift, filled with achievements that feel hollow, victories that taste like ash. The soul knows its way home. It always has. It is the mind that must learn to surrender, to serve rather than control. And so when the quiet knowing arises within you, when you feel the nudge, the ache, the inexplicable pull, honor it. Even if you cannot explain it, even if it makes no sense to those around you, especially then, for the soul speaks the language of eternity, while the mind speaks only the language of survival. In the end, your deepest regrets will not be the mistakes you made while following your soul. They will be the moments when you knew and did not act, when you heard and chose silence, when you saw and looked away. Trust the knowing that precedes understanding. It is the voice of God within you, waiting patiently, endlessly for you to listen. There is a sobering truth woven quietly into the fabric of our existence. At the end of it all, you will see with piercing clarity that it was always your choice. No matter how much you may have blamed the world, your circumstances, your past, or even God Himself, there will come a moment when the veil is lifted, and you will see the simple, devastating beauty of it, that your life was shaped not by what happened to you, but by how you chose to respond. You see, we are master storytellers. We spin endless tales of why we could not, why we did not, why we waited. We excuse ourselves with the language of fate, of bad luck, of unfairness, but the soul is not deceived by these stories. It knows when you have lived with courage and when you have cowered in fear. It knows when you have embraced the invitations of grace and when you have turned away. And it will not accuse you, it will simply show you what could have been, what still might be if you will only choose differently now. God does not coerce, He does not force, He offers, He invites. His calling is persistent but never violent. It is always within your reach but never thrust into your grasp. You are free to accept or to reject, free to create a life that reflects the divine breath within you or to squander it on smaller, safer dreams that never demand the full flowering of your soul. Every moment you live is a crossroads. Each decision, no matter how small, leans you in one direction or another, toward love or fear, toward truth or illusion, toward becoming fully alive or settling for mere existence. It is not one grand decision that defines a life, but 1,000 little ones made quietly in the chambers of the heart where no one else sees. And these choices, accumulated over time, write the story of your destiny. The tragedy is not that God withholds blessing or purpose. It is that we often walk away from them with eyes wide open, distracted by comfort, paralyzed by fear, deceived by the glittering illusions of this world. We trade what is eternal for what is immediate. We choose ease over growth, certainty over faith, safety over passion. And then, when the life we were meant to live remains a shadow in the distance, we wonder where God went, not realizing that He never moved, only we did. At the end of your days, when you look back across the landscape of your life, you will not be judged by some external tribunal. You will simply see the truth for yourself. You will see the moments when you knew the right path and chose another. You will see the invitations to rise higher, to love deeper, to risk greater, and how you responded. there will be no need for condemnation, the seeing itself will be enough. And yet, even in that final reckoning, there will be no bitterness in the eyes of God. Only love, infinite, unwavering love, love that honors your freedom even when it leads you away, love that rejoices in every moment you chose to trust, to act, to say yes to the divine whisper within. And perhaps the greatest mercy of all is this, that even now, even here, you are still choosing. The story is not finished. The invitation still stands. You are not trapped by your past. You are not defined by your failures. You are always one decision away from turning toward the light, one breath away from beginning again, one heartbeat away from stepping into the life that was always meant to be yours. But you must choose. No one can choose for you. Not even God will override your will. It is your choice, and it always has been.
Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment a river flowing effortlessly, bending around rocks, never questioning its path, simply trusting the journey ahead. This is the essence of life when we trust in something greater than ourselves. In a world consumed by noise and endless striving, God's message to us is simple: trust me. Stay silent. It's a call to let go of the illusion of control, to embrace the stillness within, and to find the profound wisdom that arises when we simply allow ourselves to be. Today we'll explore how trust and silence are not passive states, but powerful gateways to transformation, freedom, and a deeper connection with the divine. Together, let's uncover the beauty of surrender and the infinite potential that lies in silence. Trust is one of life's great paradoxes. We live in a world that teaches us to plan, to control, to fight for our outcomes. Yet, the moment we surrender to the flow of life, something remarkable happens. It's as if the universe breathes a sigh of relief and says, finally you've let go. Now let me take care of the rest. This is God's message: trust me, not because you are incapable, but because trust allows life to unfold in ways you cannot foresee. To trust is not to resign, it is to participate fully in the dance of life without needing to lead. It is to realize that the river flows not because it has to, but because it simply is. Trust is about releasing the grip of fear and acknowledging that there is a greater intelligence at work, one that doesn't always announce itself, but is always present. It's not blind faith, it's a deep knowing that even in uncertainty, we are not lost. Now, what does it mean to stay silent? In silence, we discover the profound wisdom of life itself. Think of the stillness between musical notes. It is this silence that gives the melody its beauty. Similarly, our silence allows the divine melody to play within us. We often mistake silence for emptiness, but silence is far from empty. It is full of potential, rich with understanding. When we quiet the endless chatter of our minds, we create space for clarity. But staying silent is not just about being quiet, it's about being present. In silence, we stop fighting, stop resisting. We become open vessels ready to receive whatever life has to offer. There's a reason why the greatest truths often come to us not in words, but in moments of profound stillness. The divine does not shout, it whispers. And to hear it, we must be willing to stop talking, stop demanding, and simply listen. This trust and silence are not signs of passivity or weakness. In fact, they require great courage. It's terrifying to release control, to sit in the stillness of uncertainty. But this is where transformation occurs. When we trust and remain silent, we tap into the infinite, the timeless. It's in this space that our worries, fears, and doubts begin to dissolve, replaced by a calm assurance that we are exactly where we need to be. Life, after all, is not a puzzle to be solved or a problem to be fixed. It's a mystery to be lived. And mysteries aren't meant to be analyzed, they're meant to be analyzed, they're meant to be experienced. By trusting, we allow ourselves to move with life rather than against it. By staying silent, we give life the room to reveal its wisdom to us. But why is this so hard for us? Because we are attached to the idea of control. We think that if we plan every detail, if we strive harder, we'll avoid failure, pain, or loss. But control is an illusion. No matter how tightly we grip, the river still flows where it's meant to go. Trust is the realization that our grip is unnecessary. Life doesn't need our interference, it simply needs our cooperation. And so when God says, "Trust me, stay silent," it's not a command, but an invitation to experience the freedom that comes when we stop trying to force life into our expectations. It's an invitation to embrace the beauty of not knowing, of letting life surprise us, guide us, and teach us. Trust is the soil in which peace grows, and silence is the water that nurtures it. Together they create a space for the divine to work miracles, not in grand dramatic ways, but in the quiet unfolding of life's natural rhythm. And to trust and stay silent is to align yourself with the universe, to move with its flow rather than against it. It's not about doing nothing, it's about doing what is needed with the calm assurance that you are not alone in this journey. So let us trust. Let us be silent. Let us stop resisting and start listening. In that silence, in that surrender, you will find not only peace, but the profound truth that has always been there. Life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Trust it. Trust it. There is a strange beauty in silence, a kind of sacred stillness that we often overlook. In the world we live in, noise is constant external noise from the world around us and internal noise from our restless minds. Yet if we step back just for a moment and allow the noise to settle, we begin to notice something profound. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it is the space where truth begins to emerge. And in this space we can hear God's quiet message, "Stay silent." Why silence? Because it is in silence that we stop reacting and start observing. Most of us live in a state of reaction, bouncing from one thought to another, one emotion to the next. We think we are making decisions, but often we're simply responding to the chaos around us. Silence is the antidote to this endless cycle. It interrupts the momentum of the mind and opens the door to clarity. When you are silent, truly silent, you begin to notice things you never saw before. You see that many of your fears are creations of the mind, projections of a future that does not exist. You see that the problems you thought were insurmountable often dissolve when you stop giving them so much energy. And most importantly, you begin to see that you are not separate from life, not apart from the divine flow that moves through everything. In silence, this connection becomes undeniable. But silence is not easy. It requires discipline and courage. To stay silent is to resist the urge to explain, to defend, to justify. It is to trust that there is no need to fill the space, no need to impose your will on the moment. Silence is an act of faith, a surrender to the idea that life can speak louder than words if we let it. And then there is trust. Trust is the foundation upon which silence rests. Without trust, silence can feel like emptiness, like a void. But when you trust, silence becomes a sanctuary, a place of comfort and reassurance. To trust is to believe that even when you cannot see the path ahead, it is still there, waiting for you. It is to accept that you don't have all the answers, and that's okay because you don't need to. Trust is not passive. It is not a resignation to whatever happens. It is active engagement with the present moment, a willingness to meet life as it is, not as you wish it to be. When you trust, you stop fighting against the current. You allow yourself to be carried, not because you are weak, but because you understand that the river knows the way better than you do. This trust and silence go hand in hand. One cannot truly exist without the other. To trust without silence is to cling to faith without listening for guidance. To be silent without trust is to sit in doubt and fear. But when you combine the two, something remarkable happens. You begin to live in harmony with life itself. In this harmony, you realize that life doesn't need your interference. The seasons change, the tides come and go, the sun rises and sets all without your control. And just as nature follows its rhythm, so too does your life. When you trust and stay silent, you align yourself with this rhythm. You stop struggling against what is and start flowing with what could be. This is not to say that life will always be easy. Challenges will come, as they always do. But when you trust, you see these challenges not as obstacles, but as part of the path. You understand that even the moments of difficulty have a purpose, even if that purpose is not immediately clear. trust allows you to face uncertainty with grace, and silence gives you the strength to endure it. So the message is simple, yet profound. Trust me. Stay silent. It is an invitation to step out of the noise, to let go of control, and to rest in the assurance that life is unfolding exactly as it should. It is a reminder that you are not alone, that the divine is always with you, guiding you even when you cannot see it. Trust. Stay silent. And watch as life reveals its beauty in ways you never imagined. There is a profound wisdom in the message, trust me. Stay silent. It speaks to the essence of living in alignment with something greater than ourselves, a divine force that quietly orchestrates the flow of existence. Yet in our constant striving and ceaseless talking, we often fail to hear this message. We become so absorbed in controlling outcomes and asserting our will that we lose sight of the deeper truth: life is not ours to control. It is a mystery to be trusted, a journey to be embraced. And trusting God or the universe or whatever you call that infinite intelligence is not about blind obedience. It is about releasing the illusion of control. We spend so much of our lives planning, strategizing, and worrying, as though we can bend the unfolding of life to our desires. But no amount of effort can change the fact that life will unfold as it is meant to. Trusting is not about giving up, it is about stepping back and allowing life to move through you. It is about understanding that there is a greater rhythm, one that we may not always comprehend but can always rely on. Staying silent is a companion to this trust, and it is just as powerful. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the presence of something deeper. In silence we step out of the noise of the mind, the endless commentary, judgments, and fears, and into a space of stillness. This stillness is where truth resides. It is in the quiet moments when we stop speaking and start listening that we hear the voice of the divine. Not in words, but in the subtle movements of intuition, the gentle whispers of inner knowing. But silence is not easy. We live in a world that values noise, where people measure their worth by how much they do and how loudly they proclaim it. To be silent is to go against this tide. It is to step away from the need to prove yourself, to justify your actions, to explain your worth. It is to rest in the understanding that you are enough, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Silence also requires courage. When you stay silent, you confront yourself. Without the distraction of words, you are left with your thoughts, your fears, your doubts. This can be uncomfortable, even frightening. But it is also necessary. In silence, you come face to face with your own humanity, and in doing so, you open the door to transformation. The noise of the mind begins to quiet, and in its place comes a profound clarity, a sense of connection to something larger. Trust and silence work together in a beautiful way. Trust provides the foundation, the assurance that you are held by something greater. Silence creates the space for that trust to deepen, for the wisdom of the divine to reveal itself. Together they bring you into harmony with life. You stop fighting against what is and start flowing with what could be. You stop needing to control and start allowing yourself to be guided. This does not mean life will always be easy. Challenges will arise as they always do. But when you trust and stay silent, you begin to see these challenges differently. They are no longer obstacles to be overcome, they are lessons to be learned, opportunities for growth. You begin to understand that even in difficulty there is purpose. Even in uncertainty there is guidance. The beauty of trust and silence is that they require nothing external. You don't need to go anywhere or do anything special to access them. They are already within you, waiting to be embraced. Trust is the recognition that life is on your side, even when it doesn't seem like it. Silence is the doorway to that recognition, the stillness that allows you to hear the truth. So the message is simple: trust me, stay silent. It is not a demand, but an invitation. An invitation to stop striving, stop resisting, and simply be. To trust that life is unfolding as it should, even when you cannot see the path. And to stay silent and listen, not with your ears, but with your heart. And in that trust, in that silence, you will find the peace and clarity that have been there all along, waiting for you to notice. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast ocean, watching the waves rise and fall, each one following a rhythm far older than humanity itself. You don't question the waves. You don't try to stop them or change their course. You simply observe, trusting that they will come and go as they always have. This is the essence of life when we embrace the message, trust me. Stay silent. It is a call to align ourselves with the flow of existence, to let go of control, and to find peace in the quiet spaces between our thoughts. Trust is the foundation of this message. But trust is not easy. From the moment we are born, we are taught to rely on our own efforts, to plan and strive to take control of our destiny. And yet, the harder we cling to control, the more life seems to slip through our fingers. Trust asks us to release that grip. It is not about giving up, it is about stepping back and realizing that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. It is about recognizing that while we may not understand the grand design, we are held by it. To trust is to accept that life knows what it is doing, even when we don't. It is to surrender not in defeat, but in faith. Faith that the struggles we face are not meaningless, that the detours are not without purpose. Trust is an act of courage because it asks us to embrace uncertainty. It asks us to move forward without guarantees, to believe in the unseen. And then there is silence. In our modern world, silence is often mistaken for weakness or passivity. We are surrounded by noise, by constant chatter, by a relentless push to fill every moment with activity and sound. To stay silent is to step away from this noise, to resist the urge to explain, defend, or justify. Silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is a space where the deeper truths of life can emerge, unclouded by the chaos of the mind. In silence, you begin to hear the voice of the divine, not in loud declarations, but in whispers, in subtle nudges, in the quiet knowing that arises when you stop trying to control and simply listen. This silence is not just about refraining from speech. It is about stillness, about creating a space within yourself where wisdom can arise. It is about being present fully and completely in the moment. But silence can be uncomfortable. When you are silent, you confront yourself, you face your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. This is why many people avoid silence. They fear what they might find. But it is only by sitting with these feelings, by allowing them to surface and be acknowledged, that you can move beyond them. Silence is a teacher, and its lessons are often profound. Trust and silence go hand in hand. Trust gives you the confidence to stay silent, to resist the urge to fill the void with unnecessary words or actions. Silence deepens your trust, allowing you to see that life continues to unfold perfectly, even when you are not trying to control it. Together, they create a harmony, a balance that allows you to move through life with grace. Life is not without its challenges. There will be moments of doubt, moments when the path ahead seems unclear, moments when you are tempted to take control once again. But it is in these moments that trust and silence become most powerful. They remind you that you are not alone, that you are part of a larger whole, that the same force that moves the stars and the tides also moves within you. Trust me, stay silent is not just a message, it is a way of being. It is an invitation to stop resisting and start flowing, to stop questioning and start listening. It is a reminder that you do not need all the answers because life itself is the answer. In trusting and staying silent, you open yourself to the infinite wisdom and peace that have always been within you, waiting patiently for you to notice. And when you do, you will find that everything you were searching for was already there. You can picture yourself sitting by a calm lake at dawn. The water is perfectly still, reflecting the soft hues of the rising sun. There is no rush, no urgency, just a profound stillness. In that moment, you realize that life is not asking you to control it, to fix it, or to dominate it. It is simply inviting you to be present, to trust its flow, and to remain silent enough to hear its gentle whispers. This is the essence of the message, trust me, stay silent. To trust is one of the most difficult yet liberating acts we can undertake. We are conditioned to believe that control equals security. We think that if we can anticipate every turn, plan every move, and solve every problem, we can protect ourselves from the uncertainty of life. But this is an illusion. The truth is, no matter how much we plan or how hard we try, life will unfold on its own terms. Trust is not about abandoning responsibility, it is about recognizing that there is a greater force at work, a force that knows the path even when we cannot see it. When you trust, you release the need to micromanage every aspect of your life. You stop resisting the natural ebb and flow of existence. Trust is not passive, it is an active choice to align yourself with the rhythm of the universe. It requires faith, not blind faith, but a deep, intuitive knowing that you are supported, that the challenges you face are not there to break you but to shape you, to guide you toward a greater understanding of yourself and your place in the world. Silence, like trust, is a practice of profound surrender. In our noisy, fast-paced world, silence often feels unnatural, even uncomfortable. We are taught to equate silence with absence, with doing nothing, with being unproductive. But silence is far from empty. It is a space of infinite potential, a place where clarity and wisdom reside. When you stay silent, you create room for life to speak to you. This silence is not just about refraining from words, it is about quieting the noise within the constant chatter of the mind, the endless stream of worries, fears, and judgments. In silence, you begin to hear something deeper. You hear the voice of the divine, not as a booming command, but as a gentle nudge, a quiet assurance that you are on the right path. Silence also teaches us to be present. It pulls us out of the past, where regrets dwell, and out of the future, where anxieties lie waiting. In silence, you are here now, and in this present moment you find that most of the problems you thought were pressing simply dissolve. Silence allows you to see clearly, to understand that much of what you stress over is fleeting and insignificant in the grand scheme of things. And trust and silence are deeply intertwined. Trust gives you the courage to embrace silence, to let go of the need to fill the space with words or actions. Silence, in turn, deepens your trust, showing you that even when you do nothing, life continues to unfold beautifully, as it always has. Together, they create a state of being that is both peaceful and powerful. This way of being does not mean that life will be free of challenges. Challenges are a part of the human experience. But when you trust and stay silent, you approach these challenges with a sense of calm and confidence. You no longer see them as threats, but as opportunities to grow, to learn, and to strengthen your faith. Trust me, stay silent is not a command, it is an invitation. It is an invitation to stop struggling, to let go of the need to control every detail, and to step into the flow of life. It is a reminder that you are not alone, that you are supported by a force far greater than yourself. When you trust and stay silent, you align yourself with that force. You find peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer feel the need to fight against imperfection. And in that trust, in that silence, you discover something extraordinary, that life, in all its mystery and unpredictability, is not a problem to be solved, but a gift to be experienced. It is in this surrender, this letting go, that you truly begin to live.